Okay, you know the feeling, right? Your phone starts ringing. It's buzzing on the table. The screen lights up with a name you totally recognize. And what do? You just stare at it. You watch it ring out, and then this weird wave of relief washes over you.
So what's that all about? I mean, the immediate thought, probably from your friends, maybe even from yourself, is, oh, it's social anxiety. You're just scared of talking, or you're worried about some kind of confrontation, or you're just, awkward.
And yeah, that's pretty much what the world thinks, isn't it? It gets written off as some kind of social failing, like you're being rude, or you're avoidant, or you just can't handle a basic phone call. But here's the thing, what if that's all wrong? What if I told you that that little act of ignoring the call has nothing to do with fear? What if it's actually a sign that your brain is working at a super high level, doing exactly what it's supposed to do?
Okay, we've got to get into this.
So here's the big idea we're going to unpack. It's not phone anxiety. It's what we could call cognitive preservation. The whole thing isn't a social issue, it's a brain strategy. You're not anxious, you're literally saving your brain power.
See, this isn't about avoiding a person. It's a deliberate act, even if you don't realize you're doing it, of managing your energy. It's about being the gatekeeper for your own mind and deciding who gets a key to your most valuable asset, your focus.
So to really get this, we have to talk about protecting your mental flow. Because that ringing phone, it doesn't just feel like an interruption, it feels like a violation, right? It's like someone just kicked down the door to your brain without asking.
I mean, think about it. A text message, an email, they sit there and wait for you. You get to them on your own time. But a phone call demands you drop everything right now to jump onto someone else's timeline. It's a total hijacker of your mental focus.
And this gets to a really cool idea called continuous processing. See, your brain never really shuts off. Even when you're just chilling, it's in the background, constantly chewing on problems, connecting dots. And that ringing phone, it's like a sledgehammer coming down on that whole delicate operation. And here's exactly how that attack on your flow happens. First, it demands what's called reactive speech. You just have to blurt something out. It totally stops any deep thinking you were doing. It hijacks that cognitive flow we just talked about. And let's be honest, it's usually to force you to talk about something kind of shallow or that could have just been a text. Okay, so that reaction is what we're trying to avoid. And that brings us to the flip side, the power of the pause. This is all about why we crave the chance to actually think before we speak. And this isn't just, a personality quirk, it's a seriously important brain function called cognitive inhibition. It's that tiny, crucial gap between when someone asks you something and when you answer. That's where all the good stuff happens. Accuracy, reflection, a well-thought-out response. A phone call just rips that away from you. And you can see the difference so clearly when you put them side by side. A phone call is reactive. It requires instant processing. It forces that reactive speech we talked about, and it basically puts your brain into survival mode. But a text message, that's reflective. It lets you think. It lets you use structured logic. It puts you in reasoning mode. It's a completely different mental state. All right, but have you ever noticed this? You can have a 10-minute phone call and feel absolutely wiped out, way more tired than after an hour-long chat with someone face-to-face. Why is that? Well, it all comes down to a hidden energy drain. It's because, on a phone call, your brain is working overtime. When you're talking to someone in person, you're getting a flood of information. Their facial expression, body language, all those little cues. On the phone, all of that is gone. Your brain is left trying to decode everything from just their tone of voice. Every little pause, every sigh. It's trying to fill in all those missing pieces. And that takes a ton of mental energy. And I mean, just look at the difference here. The amount of brain energy used per minute for a face-to-face chat is pretty low. But for a phone call, the load is massive. Your brain is just burning through fuel trying to make sense of incomplete information. So yeah, of course you feel exhausted afterwards. And there's actually a name for that feeling of being totally drained. It's sensory overload. Your brain is literally getting overwhelmed because it's trying to process this incomplete sensory data. So when you ignore that call, it's not you being rude, it's your brain protecting itself. Okay, and there's one last piece to this puzzle. Why small talk on the phone can feel so incredibly painful. Because sometimes it's not just the interruption itself, it's what the interruption is about that's the real problem. The thing is, most phone calls are pretty unstructured. They're filled with what you might call conversational filler. And to a brain that's wired to look for meaning and solve problems, that just feels, well, inefficient. It's a frustrating waste of brain power. It's literally like using a supercomputer to do basic addition, a total waste of resources.
And this leads us to this concept of protective withdrawal. Now, this isn't being antisocial. This is being selectively social. It's an active choice to filter out those low-value, energy-draining interactions so you can save your bandwidth for the conversations that actually matter. You're basically becoming a curator of your own social life.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, right? Protecting your mental flow, needing that pause to think, avoiding the energy drain, and filtering out the painful small talk, it all boils down to one single, really powerful motive your brain has.
And it's this. You have a deep, instinctive awareness that your time and your attention are scarce. They're limited, precious resources, and you're simply not okay with letting a random ringing sound steal them away from you whenever it wants. So, it really comes down to this. You don't stare at that ringing phone because you're scared of the person on the other end. You stare at it because in that split second, you are running a lightning-fast calculation. Is this conversation worth completely derailing my entire train of thought? And, most of the time, the answer is going to be no.
So, the next time your phone rings and you just let it go, what are you really protecting? It's not about fear. It's about protecting your focus, your energy, and your peace of mind.